It begins with two British ships, sailing into white silence and never returning. For over a century, their fate was pure rumor. But the frozen Arctic left clues, stranger, sadder, and more human than legend could invent. Summer, 1845. HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, wooden ships heavy with provisions and hope, slip into the River Thames. They carry 129 men, officers, sailors, the best the Royal Navy can muster. At their head, Sir John Franklin, a seasoned explorer with a reputation for Arctic grit. Coal is heaped in the holds for small auxiliary steam engines, the latest technology on wooden hulls, but hardly dependable. Their goal, to find the fabled Northwest Passage, a new shipping route through the ice-riddled north. The ships are packed for 3 years, canned food, barrels of salted beef, lemon juice to fight scurvy, books, even a hand organ. White sails catch the wind at Greenland's coast, the ships vanish west into the unknown. Then silence. No letters, no ships, not a scrap of news for months, then years. Families in Britain pray at the windows, faces pressed to the fog, waiting for news that never comes. Whispers ripple through dockyards and drawing rooms. Did Franklin find the passage? Is he dead? Soon, the world's greatest search effort is underway. Arctic ships crisscross the ice for decades, hunting for signs. They find nothing. But the White North holds its own secrets, buried in snow and silence. Then, a strange object drifts onto an Inuit camp, an English silver spoon left miles inland. Inuit elders tell British searchers stories. Long ago, they saw starving men dragging boats over the ice. Other Inuit recall a sight more chilling, a ship trapped in frozen waves, silent, lifeless. Sometimes, the searchers themselves find bones on lonely islands, skulls with strange cuts on them. And odd bits of uniform, library books, silverware engraved with officers' names found in the snow, thousands of miles from home. No answers, only more questions. A single sheet of paper, weathered and foxed, is found beneath a cairn of rocks on King William Island. It's a standard naval form turned secret message. First, an optimistic note. Erebus and Terror wintered safely. All well reads the margin, dated 1847. But months later, a scrawled addendum. Things have changed. Ships deserted, officers and crew, 105 souls, start for Backsfish River. Sir John Franklin died, 11 June 1847. Captain Crozier now leads what's left of the company on foot, into the wilderness. No word explains why both ships, so well provisioned, had to be abandoned in the middle of the ice. No explanation for the deaths that followed, or the hardships still to come. For years, only the wind and the ice know what happened next. Searchers in the decades ahead unearth eerie relics, a boat crammed with skeletons, a watch still ticking when found, a fork dropped in panic. A few tin cans even unopened, sitting in permafrost, encrusted with lead solder. They peer inside and see the edges of rotting, grayish meat. Analysis, years later, reveals a hidden killer, lead poisoning. The canned food meant to guarantee survival poisoned the crew over months. Symptoms match: confusion, weakness, stomach pain, a creeping exhaustion that no one could fight. One after another, expeditions find more human remains, articulated skeletons, some buried beneath pebble cairns, some scattered by animals. Forensic study decades later shows frostbite on finger bones, old fractures, and, on some skulls, sharp cut marks. A few bones even show evidence of having been boiled. Did the men at the end turn to cannibalism to survive? Not a rumor. Modern forensic science backs up what the Inuit testimonies whispered for generations. Cut marks run across arms and legs. Careful, deliberate, the work of desperate men trying to live one more day. Under the microscope, the bones betray secrets no one sees on the surface. Journals and letters hint at discipline breaking down. Men, starved, frostbitten, barely able to walk. Yet they marched on, dragging lifeboats across the jagged white plains, pulling everything they could carry on foot. Among the cargo, silver plate, sledges, books, and even a heavy writing desk. Why carry it? Maybe hope, maybe desperation for meaning amid collapse. Franklin's men were trying to bring a little bit of home into a world that had become entirely alien. They left behind cryptic notes, discipline logs, pressed flowers from England, fragments of the world they left. Why were they lost so utterly? The answer lies partly in the maps. The Arctic ice is a living thing, shifting, squeezing, trapping wood hulls until they break like matchsticks. The Northwest Passage, as they dreamed it, didn't truly exist, at least, not without deadly risk. A few degrees of weather meant months trapped, hundreds of miles from open water. Victorian discipline forced them to cling to ships far longer than Inuit custom would allow. Their navy blue coats and high collars, worthless armor against a killing wind that leached heat and hope. And all around, Inuit people survived and traveled, reading the ice like a living map, thriving where the expedition perished. Their skills, sealskin boots, igloo shelters, hunting, knowledge of moving ice could have meant rescue if only English pride could turn to listening. But the final chapter lay hidden, deep under the Arctic Sea, undisturbed for more than 150 years. For decades, search parties crisscrossed King William Island and the frigid channels to its north, searching for ships as much as men. They mapped every rumor, every bit of wood, and held every artifact up to the light. Modern seabed scanning sonar offered new hope. What lies below, in total darkness, untouched by man? September 2014. Searchers detect a blurry outline beneath Victoria Strait, a hull, a mast stub, still upright. Its Erebus preserved where the living ice let her settle upright, locked in centuries of silence. 2 years later, in September 2016, another team finds HMS Terror 63 miles north of Erebus, almost perfectly preserved. Dishes still stacked, beds made, drawers closed in the dark, drowned world of the Terror. Nobody knows who last left those rooms, or what orders were given as the ship was abandoned for the final time. In the wrecks, even today, divers find objects almost untouched: a boot, a quill, a bottle of mustard, a comb still holding strands of hair. Sometimes a bit of wool, instantly recognizable by fingers with gloves, transformed into evidence that these men were not faceless, but real. DNA tests from bones reveal the men's origins, some from Scotland, some from London, some Irish, all lives now bound by a frozen secret. Careful scanning of the ship's logs, preserved in soggy leather, may one day tell us the last day's words, if the ice lets go. New analysis of lead content, even in the men's fingernails, tracks how the poisoning worsened, week by week. Some hope the cold, dark water will reveal more dropped journals, trumpets, letters, tiny scraps that bring their world closer. Canadian and British teams collaborate now, historians and Inuit elders trading stories, merging science and memory. The Inuit oral histories, once dismissed, are now respected as crucial clues to the men's last movements. On King William Island today, the wind still carves drifts around the low stone cairn where that fateful note was found. The bones that remain are reburied, with ceremony and care, their names still only guesses in the Arctic dusk. Relics of Franklin's ships, ornate buttons, battered spoons, a single gold watch glint quietly in museum glass. What kept them alive for so long, and why did they fail where others survived? Partly it was the ice, the lead, the long isolation, but most of all, the stubborn discipline that makes all the difference between order and doom. Every artifact tells us they clung to habits, to dinner service and dress codes, to logs and Sunday prayers, long after reason would have told them to adapt. The centuries-old dream of the Northwest Passage died with them, but so too was born a legend that fuels science, myth, and art. A solitary ship's bell, brought up from the Erebus's hull, is silent now, its last call muffled by water and time. If you go north in the midnight sun, and listen to the wind over the white ice, you might still hear whispers of Franklin's men lost, but never truly gone. For more true stories from the half-lit edges of history, join us again, somewhere that once we lived.